Are you an HVAC professional looking to set your business apart? Then the Leading HVAC Podcast is your go-to resource. I'm Kimon Hines, coach and trainer at SVE. And in this podcast, we'll share stories of success and struggle from leaders in the HVAC industry. You'll hear from experienced executives, managers, and innovators, providing you with the hard-earned insights from their journeys. These insights will equip you with the knowledge you need to navigate challenges and truly lead in the ever-evolving HVAC world. Welcome back to the Leading HVAC Podcast. I'm your host, Kimon Hines, and I'm so excited about our interview today with our guest. I'm going to introduce her in a second, but before I do, if you have not already subscribed, please make sure you do so on whatever podcasting platform you are watching or listening to this episode on. Our guest today is Mary Kelly. Mary is the president and CEO of StrataTech Education Group. Mary, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. I'm so glad that you were able to take time out of your super busy schedule to talk with the leaders who watch and interact with this podcast, because I believe they're going to get a lot from your experience, your expertise, and your insights on the industry.
Okay, I hope so. I'll offer what I have, Kimon.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what StrataTech is and does, can you just give us an overview of StrataTech? And then as we were talking about in the intro before we started, StrataTech has some companies that are part of it. Kind of tell us a little overview of that.
Yeah, sure. So StrataTech Education Group is the parent company for RSI Inc., which is the refrigeration school here in Phoenix, the largest accredited refrigeration school in the country. And we also own the Tulsa Welding School brand, which respectively is the largest accredited welding school in the country. Tulsa Welding School has 4 branches. So we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, and Jacksonville, Florida. And of course, we have the refrigeration school in Phoenix. Our goal is to become one of the larger skilled trade providers in the country. As you know, there's a huge deficit, and we're out to try to fix that, right? So we've now taken Tulsa Welding School and the refrigeration school and kind of melded them together. We offer welding at the refrigeration school, and we offer refrigeration and electrical at all of our other schools. And we've seen a huge increase in those programs since we put them in. We put out about 4,500 graduates a year. We're focused on short term. We have always focused on return on investment. So our thesis is if a student comes to us, when they get out of school, it should be short as possible to get them to work because that's what they're looking for. They should be able to work while they're in school. So we're structured so they can do that as well. And they should make at least 1.5 to 2 times a return on whatever they invested in to go to school. So what that means is, like on the refrigeration side and the welding side, they're looking at upwards of 40 plus per year.
Wow. Okay. There's such a great need that is here, and that you guys are meeting that need. But Mary, I want to kind of take us back a little bit in your journey. So, how did you get into this field? How did you get into this industry? And I'll just say, I know your background is in education, but just kind of walk us through that journey.
Yeah, sure. So funny thing is, I am not technologically adept at all. So you don't want to put me in front of a piece of equipment. So I actually started out, I came from a pretty large family, and it was a good family, but we had some issues. My dad was a drinker, and, I struggled in school. And they couldn't understand. They would IQ test me, and they're like, gosh, she's got the brains. Why isn't she doing well? No one ever asked the question, like, what's going on with this kid, right? Literally, I would show up sometimes with bruises at school. So in high school, one of my English teachers pulled me aside and had a conversation with me. And that was the first time in my life that anyone actually asked me what was going on. And it made such a huge difference for me. I felt seen, I felt heard, and it just made a huge difference. And from that point on, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to teach because that's where you can really make a difference. So
Mhm.
I started out as a public school teacher, loved the kids, hated the administration. So I'm a bit of a rebel. And they were not, I won't say where I taught, But they were not about the kids, they were about the money. And I just couldn't be right with that. So a friend of mine was teaching some adults at a business college and said, try this. I said, no, I really want to make a difference. I don't, with adults, you can't. He's like, just come on and try it. And man, Kimon, I fell in love. I fell in love.
Wow.
I taught English fundamentals and math fundamentals to adults that had kind of dropped out of school and were trying to come back. And I thought, wow, this is the cat's meow. I just
Yeah.
loved it. So, and from then on in, I've been in adult education. I've worked at various places. I've worked at nonprofits. I've worked for New School University out of New York City. I've worked at a community college. I'm now in the for-profit area, and I really like this space. People often think for-profit, they think University of Phoenix. That's not the most of them are doing skill trades, they're mom and pop kind of schools. What I like about this particular sector, we've been serving people that traditional academia has kind of left out of the mix. People that
Hmm.
weren't successful, people that couldn't, go to a traditional schedule, right? And so my mission is to try to help those kids that need it, right? Like
Right.
in this country, if you're born on the wrong side of the tracks, the only way you get out of that is education, right?
That's right.
So
Right.
this is a great space for me, and you can be very nimble and very quick because you're not a huge bureaucracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I found my way into this space, and I've kind of never looked back. I came to this company from Lincoln Educational Services, Lincoln Tech, which was very large, publicly traded. They're still out there. They're very large, great organization. The old CEO left to start this company and kind of dogged me to come. And I said, sure, why not? And because I couldn't get into skill trades at Lincoln, I was too good on the medical and business side. So they wanted to keep me there, but I really wanted to get into the skill trade space. And so I've been here since 2010, was made CEO like 2 months after that. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. What a journey, huh? What a journey.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
You know what? It's amazing though. We have so many people that come to us that like just we're sold a bad bill of goods, like you got to go to college and and that's not for them.
Right.
And a lot of these guys and girls are so talented with their hands, they should have
Yeah.
been pushed a long time ago into what they're doing,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they're making more money than
Yeah.
people that are coming out with a baccalaureate or even a master's degree. I went to school with a friend of mine who started a plumbing company. He's a millionaire now. He sold it
Yeah.
to private equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, and to what you're saying, it's uh it's something that a lot of people overlook. We don't see the need for this, but RSI and StrataTech, you guys are meeting that need in an area that one will always need people in those fields. Will always need the skilled trade work.
Always, always. And people talk about AI and worry about that displacing them. It's never going to be able to do all the stuff in the skill trades.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can automate like big pieces of welding and some other stuff, right? But you
Yeah.
can't you can't replicate someone hanging upside down. Like some of my kids that go to these shipyards, they literally hang upside down and use a mirror to weld backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't replicate an HVAC tech because there's so many different things that can happen on like so many troubleshooting things there, and you have to know how everything relates to each other. You're never going to be able to have a computer solve all that.
Yeah. Our guest today is Mary Kelly. Mary is the CEO of StrataTech Education Group. And Mary, someone watching this is leading in the HVAC industry, and this is their concern. I can't find workers. I cannot find technicians.
Yeah.
I can't hold on to technicians. I can't find them. Kind of talk to us about one, any encouragement you have for them and how StrataTech kind of comes alongside companies that are dealing with that challenge.
Yeah. So, well, let's start with the latter and then I'll go back to the first
Hmm.
one. Okay. So we have always done our core business was just driving students into school, right? About 4 years ago, we went down the path with some new investors that said, hey, have you ever thought of doing like, business to business? And we're like, yeah, like Budweiser came to me and said, I want to put welding in, have all my maintenance techs do that. We've worked with Parker and Sons for a long, long time here in Arizona, right? But they were also like, nothing was formalized. We put in a formalized B2B business, which is now almost a $7 million business. So that business helps customize training because that's part of the issue too, right? Like these
Hmm.
companies are running and they're getting a lot of business and some of them can't do their own training, right? So we'll do that. We've also helped them find people. We're cranking out in all these places. We're cranking out graduates, as I mentioned. It's a pretty large. I think if I take the 4,500 at least 2,000 of them are probably, HVAC and electrical techs.
Okay.
So, and we're really good at reaching those students and bringing them in, right? So to answer your question, one, there's the B2B where we can help with a lot of things on the B2B side. On the B2C side, which is a consumer side, it is easier, I think, for us to find students than it is for other companies. So when we partner up with a company, it actually gives them value because we're already bringing the students in, right? And we're doing a short-term program. So my students go for refrigeration, for example, they're in for like, I think it's 7 months. And they only go 5 hours a day, 25 hours a week. So they all still work. Some of them are working at refrigeration companies. Some of them are
Gotcha.
getting some like half scholarships from some of the companies they work for. We can work with all of that, right? The biggest issue is that we steered kids away from going into these, well, like I was talking about earlier, we told kids they had to go to college. I will
Right.
say since COVID, so here's the good news for your employers. It's changing. Kids,
Mhm.
it's all over the news now. Like kids are looking at how much they have to pay for college. Am I going to get something for it? Also, they don't want to be in school forever. And they're looking at the skilled trades. The skilled trades is more popular. We've always been really popular. We've always increased our enrollments year over year. But since COVID, we've seen a huge increase. And I know my peers in similar institutions are also seeing that, right? Because all these kids were sitting around and they watched during COVID who was going to work. The
Yeah.
only people going to work were skilled trade and healthcare workers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty much guaranteed job and
Absolutely.
they're making really good money because all those employers had to pay up a little more to get people in, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really good field to get into. They know it. And the last thing I'll say is for the younger students, my issue had always been the parents. So I have a high school division where we go out to the high schools and we bring in, well over 1,000 students just from that high school program all around the country. Students will want to come, but when we go and talk to the parents wanted them to go to college, right? So we'd win the war 50-50. We'd lose 50% of them to the parents that wanted them to go to college. Now, the parents are all about it. The parents are like, hey, go here. And then if you
Hmm.
want to go to college later, go to college later. So the whole thing has been turned upside down. And I think you're going to see more people showing up. I think it's harder for smaller companies to try to attract those students and those people and figure out where they are. The other issue, quite honestly, is people have to pay a little. There's some employers that complain that, they can't get someone to work, but they're paying the lowest scale. Well, of course, someone's
Yeah.
going to steal someone from you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
No, that's a good
But
point.
look,
Good point. Good point.
yeah, they want job security. The employers we work with, their folks are staying, they have a higher retention because people not only want to make a good wage, but they also want job security and see where they're going in like, the next year or 2 years. So they want upskilling as part of that. And
Yeah.
employers have got to offer that.
That's good. That's good. You know, you make me think about this statement we hear over and over in our work here at SBE, working with different contractors. They say the workforce is different. No one wants to work anymore, right? So you've been working with this workforce for a while. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that reality play out with the workforce of today compared with before?
Um, it's a good question. It's kind of it's a mixed question, right?
Okay.
Because I think these kids want to work, but they want to
Hmm.
work in something they believe in,
Okay.
right? But they also know, like they're used to getting whatever they want on demand, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so in their mind, like if something doesn't work out, they say, oh, I'll just go drive Uber or I'll just go do Uber Eats. So I think like I can say for my generation, I mean, that was never, first off, you were loyal. Like that's how
Hmm.
you were raised, right? Now I'm a little older. I'm probably like at the very last leg of the baby boomers, right? So so that's where we were. I think when you look at the millennials, that's where you started to have a little bit of a different take. We were helicopter parents. We gave them
Hmm.
everything they wanted. And so they got used to getting all those things. I think the students you have coming out now, I think there's a misnomer that they don't want to work. I
Hmm.
think they do want to work. They're techies. So I think so when you were talking, about like what's going on in the field, companies have to get on board with using technology out there. Now that's not my forte,
Hmm.
but I know there's a lot of different ways to do it. But really, that's what they're looking for to be able to use technology because they're used to that helping make them more efficient.
Yeah. And Mary, you bring up a good point. It's understanding the workforce of today. It's not painting the broad brush. You don't want to work, but understanding your motivation, understanding how they're wired. I think you make such a good point. Tapping into that motivation, tapping into who they are, and getting the most out of them is the way to be successful for those of us leading in the HVAC industry right now.
Yeah, and I think you guys do some stuff in that, right? Like I think that's
Absolutely.
the space you're in, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to give you a plug, but
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now,
yeah. The other thing I was going to say, it's really, you can't, because we've done a lot of research on this. The young people, the people that are coming out, so your Gen Z and your Gen X, they want training.
mhm,
If you're going to bring someone into your company, they're not going to think you're investing in them if you're not giving them training. And
yeah,
if you're not showing them training to take them to the next level, that's really important to them.
yeah, yeah. And that's a good point. Training is something not just at the beginning, right, to get them to start working, but it's something that you need to keep as a part of what you're doing with your team members so that they're becoming better. They're becoming better on that job and off the job as well, right?
Right. Right. And they want it,
Yeah, yeah,
you know? I mean, back in the day when we had training on the job, I didn't want training. I've got my degree, leave me alone.
yeah,
But these guys want it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you've seen a lot of change, Mary, over the time that you've been working in this industry. What are some of the major shifts? You mentioned one, COVID, definitely. That
Oh,
shifted
yeah.
a whole lot of things. But what are some of the other major shifts that you've seen in the industry over the time that you've been involved?
Yeah, I mean, look, the labor shortage has gotten worse for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I think where HVAC is going, and look, I'm not an HVAC, I just want to say I'm the CEO of an education company.
Yes,
So,
yes,
but
yes.
I do know a little bit about something.
Yeah.
So I know, like for us, we've looked at our curriculum. We do general HVAC, right? So we get someone so that when they get out in the field, they're ahead of somebody who you would just take that didn't get any training,
Okay.
right? But they're still kind of, the really good ones can hit the job and do everything, but they're coming out as kind of a generalist. We're trying to get more into commercial. Commercial is, where the big money is,
Hmm.
honestly. In residential, you're looking at renewable energy across the country. Like that's the issue, right? Looking at split systems and those kinds of things. How can it be more renewable? There's a focus on that. How can it be more efficient, right? On the commercial side, CO2 and ammonia. That's where it's going. If you look at the big warehouses, the supermarkets, that's what they're doing. We're partnered up with Walmart right now, and we're trying to figure out how to incorporate some of this stuff into our curriculum because it's cleaner, it's more dangerous, but it's cleaner and it's more efficient. So I think that's part of where the field is going. Like, how can it be cleaner and more efficient?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's interesting. Now, in your role, you have worked on the education side, and as technicians are trained, they get into the field of work, they work. Maybe some of them have transitioned even to the point of owning their own company, right?
Yeah.
What are some, and then now they're leading, right? They're leading their peers. What are some leadership qualities, some leadership principles that they need to embrace as they move from the tech side of it to now the leadership side of it?
Sure, that's a great question, and it's an area of your specialty, right? So, and I'm actually thinking because one of the things we do find is a lot of students that come to us eventually want to own their own company.
Yeah.
Like that's their goal. A lot of these young kids want to own their own company. Um, Look, I believe in servant leadership, right?
Mhm.
You got to take care of it. For years, I would say to my people, don't worry about the numbers, just focus on the students, and everything else will fall into place.
I like that.
Yeah, but after COVID, I realized what I needed to say and what we're saying now is focus on the employees. Because when you focus on the employees, they're happy, then they'll focus on the students anyway. And I had forgotten about that leap. Not that we were terrible to our employees, but I
Hmm.
mean, the employees were hearing, let's focus on our customer instead of let's focus on us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. So that's how we changed our leadership a little bit. And it's been phenomenal. Like our turnover, our engagement, all that stuff. Like the turnover is way down, the engagement's way up. People are super happy. So, I mean, that's really your area is leadership, but I've always believed in servant leadership. I believe we're here. I tell my people all the time, I'm an accidental CEO. I just wanted to be a teacher and I kind of ended up here by accident. And my job is to move the rubble. Like I hire the right people in the right seats. And then my job is to get the hell out of the way and let them do what it is that they do.
I
And
love
then
it.
when they've got obstacles, help them figure out how to get those obstacles out. That's how I view my job as a leader. And I view my success as if they get promoted time over time.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that concept of making sure you're taking care of your employees, your team members, and then they take care of the customers. I definitely think a great key for those who are leading, who are maybe even transitioning into leadership positions from a technical position, a role where you were doing now to the role of overseeing and leading, that looking out for those who you're leading so that they feel cared for and they've now can care for and take care of the customers. Great
Yeah,
point.
absolutely. And guys will pretend that they don't want that, but they do. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, we have 475 employees, and we're getting bigger and bigger. I call every employee on their birthday. I view this as my extended family, and they love it. They
Wow.
love when I call. They're like, "Oh my God, you're calling me." I'm like, "Of course I'm calling you. You're part of my family, man." But I think a lot of people, especially with men, they'll just assume that men don't care about this stuff. But
Mm,
I mean, I work with all men, and
yeah.
they really, really do. People just want, like, back to the day with Mrs. McCarthy, regardless of what was happening at home, people want to be seen. Like when I go to my schools and I see someone walking down, one of my staff walking down the hallway, and they pass a student, they don't say hello, I pull them aside. I'm like, how do you know if you're the only person that sees that person today? Right. And that's part of leadership is making people feel like they're seen.
Wow. Mary, I'll just that was such a good point. I just wanted to pause on that one. That was so good. That is such a good point. Now, there's a question I have about our RSI that I'm going to save for the end, but I usually end our episodes with what we call rapid fire questions, where I ask you questions and you have 30 seconds or less to answer them. And these are a little bit more on the fun side, almost.
Okay.
Let me
Do
know
I
when
get a
you're ready.
prize if I answer them right? No, I'm just,
That's a good question. I need to think about that one and
I'm
include
kidding.
that in the future. No, that's good, good.
Now I sound like a millennial and a Gen Z. Give me a prize. Give me a prize.
You- You've been hanging around them. Well, this first one is what's the best business book or resource that you've read?
Good to great. It's
Mm,
classic.
yeah, yeah.
It
Jim
still applies.
Collins. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
I would
almost
also
feel like
say
I'm
five dysfunctions of a team is good
that's
as
true.
well, in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've heard that one before. Someone else mentioned five dysfunctions of a team.
Yeah, yeah. You want to do that as a leader. You want to do that with your team, actually. Do it as a group and work through it. It's actually very, very interesting.
Nice, nice. What's one thing Mary Kelly wants to be better at as a leader in the next year?
One thing I want to be better at, letting go more, letting go more. I'm an operator, and when I moved into CEO, I have to be strategic. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done really good at kind of getting out of the weeds. But when stuff's blowing up, I tend to get back in the weeds
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
not good for my people because they probably feel like I don't trust them. And I don't want that. I want them to know, I know you have it.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Mary, how do you de-stress? What are some ways you enjoy life?
You know what? I found pickleball.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
I
can
used to
almost
be
have
a
a
tennis
full we can
player.
almost have a full episode on that because I have too. That's my hobby now. So I
All
love it.
right. Yeah, I when I first heard of it, I'm like, that's not tennis, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? It actually you get a good workout. It's
Oh, I
great.
love it.
So yeah, I like pickleball. I have a rescue dog that I'm just crazy about. I do a lot with him, hiking. I mean, look, I live in Arizona, and except for the 4 months of hell that we live in the summer, you can do a lot of outside
Yeah.
stuff. So we do a lot of hiking and that kind of stuff. And I'm an avid reader, and my guilty pleasure is watching Netflix.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right. Here's the last question. If you can go back in time, what's one piece of advice you'd have given to yourself when you first became a leader? So you could pick any one of your leadership roles.
Yep, I would say stop trying to have everyone like you.
Hmm,
Never gonna happen. You're not gonna be a good leader. If everybody likes you, you're probably not doing something right.
that's the point. Mary, this has been an amazing episode, an interview. Thank you so much. So, someone is out there, they're looking for to training that RSI offers. Tell them how they can connect with you and use your services so that they can get team members on board?
Sure, absolutely. We have on our main site, stratatech.com, there'll be a link to our B2B, but you can go to our school, you can go to our rsi.edu, and that'll link you to the school. There'll be a place for placement. We do placement for free. So if you're looking for just to place people, our placement departments do that for nothing.
Wow.
So you can call our placement department, we can hook up, we can give you a tour, show you what we do, and you can come and you talk to students directly. So, and if you want the bigger version of like something customized, then you probably go through B2B.
Okay. So rsi.edu is that link.
rsi.edu. Yep. And I'm on LinkedIn, so you can always connect with me. Feel free to connect with me, Mary Kelly. So, and stratatech.com, StrataTech.com.
Awesome.
If you want welding, tws.edu.
Thank you. We'll make sure we don't forget the welding part of the business.
Yeah.
Mary, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing just in such a authentic way today. Those of you who are watching this, you got value from this. So don't just subscribe, share this episode with someone else. And I just want to encourage you to continue to lead well.
Yeah, listen, I want to thank you for having me. And I love what you guys are doing. There's very few people that are doing that kind of thing out there. And, look, companies need to make money. And you guys are all about showing them how to make more money. So that's a valuable exercise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. We
all right. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Leading HVAC Podcast. If you would like to learn more about SBE, you can find us online at sbeodyssey.com. That's sbeodyssey.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review on this podcasting platform. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.